Polish MPs strip ex-justice minister's immunity, paving way for criminal charges because, we used to have this really crooked administration in charge, and they broke a bunch of laws, and that includes the former Minister of Justice. And Polish MPs on Friday voted to strip a former justice minister of his immunity so he can face prosecution in the highest profile case so far against politicians from the former hard right government who are accused of slew of abuses in power. More to follow, and more has followed since, and we're going to talk about it. Donald Tusk says accountability finally taking hold as MPs strip ex-justice ministers' immunity. Poles are finally seeing accountability take effect after a long and winding road. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has said after MPs voted to strip a former justice minister of his immunity, allowing prosecutors to press criminal charges, right? His name is Ziobro, Zbigniew Ziobro. That is the former Minister of Justice of Poland. On Friday, MPs voted to remove the immunity of Zbigniew Ziobro, a former justice minister in the right-wing Law and Justice, marking the most high-profile case yet targeting figures from the previous administration. And trust me, that was a very, very crooked administration. It's horribly crooked. The scandals just go into millions, from spying citizens, from spying political opponents, to crooked visa scandals, to embezzling funds. You name it, you got it from the old government. Trying to undermine democracy, of course, the classic. Prosecutors suspect Ziobro of committing 26 offenses during his tenure as one of the most powerful members of the Law and Justice government, which ruled Poland from 2015 to 2023. MPs voted in a series of 26 separate motions to remove his immunity in relation to each charge. Each charge separately, they needed to remove his immunity. In total, 256 MPs backed the move, 185 opposed, and 6 abstained. In a separate vote, 244 MPs supported a request to allow his possible detention, which with 197 against and no abstentions. Investigators accused Ziobro of establishing and leading an organized criminal group that allegedly misused around 150 million zlotys from the Justice Fund, a state program created to help victims of crime. I think, no, it's going to say here. We're going to be reading about the Pegasus spyware. I actually listed it as one of the things that the old government did, spying on citizens and spying on political opponents. Prosecutors say the funds were instead channeled into projects linked to Ziobro's political allies and used to purchase the controversial Israeli Pegasus spyware, later deployed to eavesdrop on Law and Justice's political rivals. Ziobro's opponents claim he created a state within a state, freely dipping into the Justice Fund to buy loyalty and consolidate power. Friday's voting drew swift reactions from across the political spectrum. It is very ironic that just now, the ex-Minister of Justice is actually facing some justice. It's just like, this is very poetic. Finally, these people are getting some well-deserved comeuppance. They thought they were unstoppable. They thought they were on top of the world. They thought they would never lose power, and they thought that they would always be in charge. And they eroded democracy a lot while they were in charge. Tusk, Poland's centrist prime minister, welcomed the vote, saying he felt no desire for revenge, only a need for politicians to be held responsible. I feel no need for revenge or retaliation. What I do have is a strong need for politicians to feel responsible for what they do and to be held accountable, particularly when there is a justified suspicion. And you know what? I feel like that is a perfectly fine thing to say. Like that, I feel like it's fair that politicians should not just be able to embezzle funds, do whatever they want, spy on their political opponents via shady programs from Israel, and fund organizations from money that is supposed to help victims of abuse. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm just insane. As we see from the prosecutor's motions, that they have committed a number of serious offenses, he told the journalists. Polls have seen that, though the road was very winding and it took a long time. The process of accountability is becoming a reality, he added. Better for everyone if he returns. Oh yeah, because he left. He left to Hungary, being seeking asylum or whatever. He sought asylum. That created a lot of tension between uh, Hungary and Poland. The fact that Ziobro just ran away and sought asylum from justice. Tusk also addressed the speculation that Ziobro may seek political asylum in Hungary, where he has recently traveled and has not returned from, of course. He said Ziobro should face the Polish justice system rather than look for protection abroad. I think it would be better for everyone, including for him, if he appeared before the Polish prosecutor and before the Polish court. Tusk said. Tusk also criticized Hungary's populist Prime Minister Viktor Orbán over comments defending Ziobro. Ziobro, who traveled to Hungary in late October, met Orbán last week, after which the Hungarian leader accused the government in Warsaw of launching a political hunt against top law and justice politicians. It is very bad that Prime Minister Orbán is interfering in such an unwise way in our internal politics, Tusk said. Yeah. Orbán basically launched a whole thing saying that the current government is doing a political witch hunt and that they are here to protect them from Poland. The Polish regime, the evilness of the Polish regime, if you will. Orban's Fidesz party is in power since 2010, and Poland's Law and Justice share a broadly similar populist and conservative agenda. They did have some disagreements on Ukraine, though. It has not been exactly complete smooth sailing between the two parties, including opposition to what they see as liberal social policies pushed by Brussels. While Law and Justice was in power, the two parties coordinated closely in opposing EU decisions such as migration rules, which they argued infringed on national sovereignty. The parties diverged after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Yeah, in the infamous speech, Orban said that Zelensky was his enemy, and even the Law and Justice Party reacted to it by asking, wait, what? What do you mean he's your enemy? He's not your enemy. What the hell? And there were some cracks, very loud anti-air. Hold on, I'm gonna go to the window and check. Very loud anti-air. I guess there were drones here after all. You can hear some buzzing in the distance. Yeah. How about some loud ass anti-air? So I guess there are some drones that got into the city after all. Hold on, I'm gonna check some news regarding that. Air defense in Kyiv shooting down more drones in the outskirts of the capital, which many in the city can hear. Oh yeah, I heard that. I heard it. Definitely heard that. All right, let's continue. They diverged, but they continue to align on most social issues and portray themselves as defenders of conservative values. Yeah. We will restore the rule of law. Poland's current Minister of Justice, Waldemar Żurek, welcomed the vote lifting Ziobro's immunity. The law is one. The law is one. The law is equal for everyone. So we will follow that law, he said, thanking investigators for a job well done. We will restore the rule of law. We will hold to account all those who broke the law, and that's it. Żurek said prosecutors intend to seek Ziobro's detention if he remains abroad. We have a European arrest warrant. Hungary is in the European Union. Therefore, EU law applies. A longtime judge at the Krakow District Court faced dozens of disciplinary cases when Ziobro oversaw the Justice Ministry due to his opposition to law and justice-backed judicial changes that critics said aimed to undermine the judiciary's independence, which is true, by the way. That was absolutely the intent. of the whole thing. That was absolutely the intent. And nobody can deny that. That was the intent. I intend to defend myself. The decision to lift Jobro's immunity has angered Law and Justice, which now finds itself facing legal scrutiny over a series of controversial changes introduced during its 8 years in power. Law and Justice leader Jarosław Kaczynski, the de facto shadowy ruler of Poland during the Law and Justice days, said he expected the decision to lift Jobro's immunity, adding, "All those who took part in this will answer for it before a court." Sure they will. Kaczynski is such a nutcase. Reacting to the news, Ziobro dismissed the allegations against him and vowed to defend himself against them. "I intend to defend myself. I intend to use words. I intend to use the truth," Ziobro told the right-wing media channel TV Republika. He also hinted he may not return to Poland immediately, but declined to answer whether he would seek political asylum in Hungary. Speculation that Ziobro could turn to Hungary for protection has intensified because Budapest has already shown it's willing to shelter law and justice figures facing legal trouble in Poland. Ziobro's former deputy Marcin Romanowski applied for and was granted asylum in Hungary last year after fleeing Poland as prosecutors moved to detain him in connection with the same Justice Fund investigation. The decision strained relations between Warsaw and populist right-wing government in Budapest. If found guilty, Ziobro could face up to 25 years in prison. That would mark a long-delayed fulfillment of a pledge made by the Tusk-led ruling coalition, which came to power in late 2023, vowing to hold its nationalist populist predecessors accountable for what it says were years of cronyism and anti-democratic abuses, which all is true. They were, in fact, responsible for all of this. So yeah, I thought to talk about this because I feel like I got some new viewers that are interested in Polish politics. I'm basically the only person, one of the only people covering Polish politics. I happen to be Polish. I know the scene a little bit, so we've done our Polish segment.